3, 2, 1.
This is Chargers Unleashed podcast. Here are your hosts, Dan Wolkenstein and Jake Hefner.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LAFB Network. Today's show, of course, is being brought to you by UFC Fit and Temecula, Charger Bolt Family, Golden Road Brewery, and MyBookie. Dan Wolkenstein. I've said this many, many times before. I do not like scheduling weekly cardiology appointments for myself. I already have high blood pressure, and that's not just me, making up stuff. That's actually legit. I already have high blood pressure. I don't need any more stress in my life. And what Chargers fans had to witness last night, the one question I have for the Chargers as a team is this. The question is how many? How many heart attacks did you cause last night? How many people did you have throwing stuff at the television late in the fourth quarter? How many people did you have simply losing their minds and about ready to jump ship if the Chargers went to the cliche, nostalgic, historic thing that the Chargers normally do and almost fumble away a fourth quarter 14-point lead? But there was a but, because this entire time that we're all thinking, here we go again, this entire time that we're thinking, oh my God, I know exactly how this movie ends, there was, a Tarantino twist. The Chargers actually, as Dan likes to say, snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Or how do you say it? Snatch victory from the jaws? Yeah, just like that? Yeah. And somehow the Chargers, after squandering a fourth quarter lead, are able to pull out an absolutely amazing home victory, 41-37 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dan, it looked like it was going to be a blowout there for a long time, but nope. The football god said, this is the Chargers plan. We have to make this a nail-biter. We have to make this exciting. You were at the game along with many, many others. I can only imagine how palpable the energy was in SoFi last night.
Ooh, Jake Hefner, how are you doing? If I sound horrible, if I sound ratchet today, it's because I've lost my voice. I'm still recuperating from what was a crazy day/night with the Bolt fam at SoFi. Shout out to everyone there. It was wild. Also, welcome to Chargers Unleashed. If you have not followed us on Instagram or anywhere social media or on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have a fun show. We're going to talk all things the Los Angeles Chargers' thrilling victory against the Steelers, in which we saw every twist and turn you could imagine. We also have the Chargers Unleashed hotline voicemails going live. We have tons of those to get through, so we're going to sprinkle those throughout the whole episode. So make sure you do not stop this episode, because we got some stuff at the end here that we're going to have some fun with too. But yes, Jake, feeling at SoFi, holy crap! Like, dude, that was insane. So my wife and I have been to every home game so far. I turned to my wife at one point, about 2 minutes left, and she is just sulking in her chair, unable to function because she has lost all of her emotions because she just can't handle this. And this is right when Mike Williams gets that touchdown to go up at the end of the game, up 4. And she just put her hand in her face, and she was like, her head in her face. Just, I can't take it. I can't take it. And I was in a mood. Man, terrible towels waving. Look, terrible towels were out there. There's a lot of them, but there was not 80-20. I'm going to tell you that right now. Bolt fam showed up. I would say, 50-50, 55-45 or so, depending on where you're sitting. Electric atmosphere, by far the loudest I have heard SoFi. My ears were ringing all night long. I literally could not sleep because I was so hyped up on this game. Didn't leave the parking lot until like an hour and a half after the game. It was a vibe. It was a vibe, and it was wild because Chargers were up to start this game, and you're feeling pretty good. And then like everything that can go wrong does go wrong in a matter of like 3 minutes, it felt. And we'll get into kind of a quick recap of it, but nothing was as vindicating as watching that touchdown by Mike Williams, followed up by 2 sacks to end the game in victory formation. Chargers go 6-4, 41-37. They're now 6-4, firmly in the playoff hunt. They got green grass ahead of them. They have some competition coming up, but the worst is behind them. And the Chargers just beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, Jake. We were sitting here talking about this game, and you actually did not think that they would win for very good reason. And Mike Tomlin, got to give this guy credit. Like, for whatever reason, the Chargers just can't put a team away, and they got to make it interesting. But Mike Tomlin coached his ass off. But we cannot go any further in this discussion, Jake, without talking about 2 guys. Number 1, Austin Ekeler. Have a day. My goodness.
Fantasy, baby. Fantasy.
Did you have Ekeler on your team?
Of course I've had Ekeler on my team.
You have that. So you've got Ekeler, I've got Herbert. Needless to say, I think both of us won. Would you agree?
Oh, I know that. I one.
Yep. Austin Ekeler, 4 touchdowns, making folks look silly the entire game. And he was RB2 last night.
Which is nuts.
Austin Ekeler was doing stuff like people were dreaming of. He had more touchdowns yesterday, Jake, than he did all of 2020. Which I know he was injured a lot, but that's still crazy. And then Justin freaking Herbert, man. Could he have had a better game? I would argue there was one throw that I can recall that he missed, and it was the 4th quarter, midway through, he threw it wide to Keenan Allen. Otherwise, there were like 5. He was okay to set the stage. 30 for 41, 382 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, quarterback rating of 116, and a QBR of 84.6. And oh, by the way, Jake, 9 carries, 90 yards. The dude almost had 500 yards of offense by himself. So of those 9 interceptions, I believe 5 of them were drops. So back out 5 of those, it's 30 for 36 for 382 yards.
It's just insane, dude. And again, I feel like anytime that Justin Herbert has a game like this, there always seems like to be that next stat to say Justin Herbert is, the 4th player in the NFL to do XYZ. Last night he became the 1st player to throw for over 350 yards and rushed for over 90 yards. No quarterback in NFL history had ever done that until last night. And it's Justin Herbert. These are the type of games. I wish the Chargers, and I'm sure we all wish that the Chargers would play prime time every single week. Because when the lights are on, Justin Herbert has shined brightest. But if you really dig deep into it, Dan, some of the things that we had heavily criticized Justin Herbert for over the last couple of weeks, holy crap, was this night and day. You could see it where he was going with the ball. The offense was flowing. His eyesight, his progression, leading defenders, looking for the open receivers. He was not playing favorites. Obviously, Keenan Allen had a fantastic game, once again, over 100 yards. But obviously, getting Austin Ekeler involved, getting Keenan Allen involved, Mike Williams had the big play toward the end of the game. Your tight ends, we still have a little bit of an issue with you with the drops, but you're getting them involved in the passing game. You did a a jet sweep with Andre Roberts for crying out loud. I mean,
what?
This is the type of creativity that we have hoped to see from this offense for weeks and weeks and weeks. And again, we're going to give Joe Lombardi flack when there's reason to criticize him. I thought he called an outstanding game for this offense.
Arguably the best game of the season for him.
With the exception of maybe one series, he called a fantastic game for this team. And Justin Herbert looked incredible and looked like the quarterback that we saw much of last year with the offense that he was operating with, and the quarterback that we saw through the first 5 games of this year. He played absolutely lights out. And I think it was Ryan Clark who said it. I can't remember who it was, either him or Louis Riddick. I was reading it this morning. It's like, if you didn't know how long Justin Herbert was in the league for, you would have thought he was 32 years old and playing like this. It's just nuts what he is doing right now. And again, to do it in the most crucial time, in the fourth quarter, given what happened on special teams, given what your defense ultimately gave up in the fourth quarter, allowing Pittsburgh to come back, and then you put the team back on your shoulders and say, not today, Satan. It's not happening. And just throw a dagger to Mike Williams to go for 53 yards to end it. That's what franchise quarterbacks are made of. And Justin Herbert alone has led the Chargers to 5 comeback victories this season.
Pause. The Los Angeles Chargers, led by Justin Herbert, have 5 come-from-behind victories in 10 games.
My next line after that was going to be, what the hell variant universe are we living in?
I don't know. But I like it. I don't like the in-between parts, but I love the end. Most of it is just too much. Okay, so, I mean, it was a crazy game. We got a lot to get into today. So, quick recap. Chargers start off strong. SoFi is bumping. Chargers go up. I think they go up 14-3 early to get a touchdown by Austin Ekeler. Justin Hopkins makes the field goal afterwards, makes it 17. Then they get another touchdown at the very end of the half to go 17-10. Chargers going into the half. You're feeling good, although it felt like it should have been a 2-possession game. Chargers felt like they were ahead by more than 7. Going to halftime. Third quarter comes in. 10 straight unanswered points by the Chargers again. Chargers up 27-10. And man, we're feeling great. This game is over. It's a wrap. One more touchdown ball game. And I would say most of Chargers Twitter, most of us were feeling pretty darn good. Jake, I think it's time for our first Chargers Unleashed hotline. So we're all on a vibe. Midway through the third quarter. Love and life. First hotline brought to you by MyBookie. We actually got a call, Jake, from someone during the game.
Before the game was over?
Before the game was over, midway through the third quarter. Called in the Chargers Unleashed hotline. Again, for folks who have not called in or heard, always feel free to give us a call, 323-374-5651. Leave your voicemail, leave your feelings and your takes, and we'll make sure to put them on an upcoming episode. So yes, Jake, to answer your question, he did call in.
This should be interesting.
During the third quarter.
Wait to hear this.
From the 909 area code, let's hear what they have to say.
Oh, man, we in the third quarter right now watching Justin Herbert run his game. It is so beautiful. We back. We going to the playoffs. We got it. I believe in my team. LA Chargers all day. Let's go.
Now you should just put up that clip, Dan, from SpongeBob saying, 1 hour later. Yo, I have been there myself. I've seen other people do it. I remember years ago when it was the Jay Cutler-led Denver Broncos that jumped up to a 21-3 halftime lead over the Chargers. And I'm sitting in a room with a bunch of other Denver Broncos fans, and they have family friends from Colorado that know that we're at their house. They call it halftime just to give us shit and saying, we're kicking your ass. What are you going to do about it? What do you think about Jay Cutler now? And sure enough, the Chargers roared back in that second half to take it. And true story, they do not allow that family to call at halftime ever again after that has happened. To this day, it does not happen with Denver Broncos games with them. Does not happen. So don't jinx it, man. And I mean, I'm glad that we ultimately ended up pulling out the victory. And I'm glad to hear that the confidence was up in the third quarter. Always happy to hear callers like this with this type of hype around
Can you imagine if we lost?
But man,
jeez,
you dodged a bullet. I would not advise to do that one again.
Woo! That takes some Staleys, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I got that. I was like, oh no, like, please don't do this. I got the notification, Jake, in the third quarter. I'm like,
someone's
like,
called.
You can think it, but like, don't say it out loud. I was so scared. Okay, so Chargers feeling good, 27-10. All of us are feeling great. Some of us actually admitted it outwardly, like the previous caller. Some of us just felt confident, but also some of us were probably a little like, we know how the Chargers are. We don't get to have nice things for long, like Jake used to say.
The glory only lasts for so long.
And I'm sitting here, right, Jake? Fourth quarter starts. I'm telling my wife, I'm like, look, like literally all we need to do is just don't do something bad. Like, you don't even have to do anything good. Just don't do anything bad. Not even a minute later, whoop, punt block. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I was actually surprised that the ball didn't go in the end zone. I was just automatically assuming that was going to be a touchdown for them.
It was a weird bounce for the fact that it even rolled out of bounds after that, yeah.
So, Chargers get the ball right back. They give them, 60 yards of field position, 70, 80 yards of field position. Get the ball at the 3-yard line. Chargers defense holds them. First, second, third down, fourth down, Tavon Campbell, unfortunately, defensive pass interference. Unnecessary, but it was there. Ends a fourth down play that would have been an interception in the end zone by Nazir Adderley. Turns out that is a first down for them. Next play, Najee Harris jumps in the end zone. They get a touchdown. Then, later on, Justin Herbert, like the god himself, taking things both arm and leg. He's running down the field. Gets us to within, I want to say in the red zone. Cameron Hayward comes from behind, tackles him. This is a Bush League play, and his reaction afterwards, Jake, was worse. Tackles him, then gets up. I want to say he throws an arm at Josh Palmer, at least pushes him. I forget exactly what happened. I saw it live.
Josh Palmer's trying to pull him off. Hayward's not having it. He's pissed that he's getting pulled off. So he shoves Palmer back, then turns his attention back to Herbert, who has not moved his position on the ground. He rolls Justin Herbert over, and he claims that it's not him trying to get up. It's not him falling. I don't ever recall balling up my right fist to brace myself if I'm getting pushed or
on another player's stomach.
Right. So I'm glad the referee was there to see it. It wasn't a missed call. Should have been called. It was the right call. But the true right call should have been an ejection. And I will compare this to the Rayshon Jenkins ejection that happened yesterday as well in the Jacksonville Jaguars San Francisco 49ers game. It was a clear punch thrown. Referee was right there. Jenkins lost his cool, punched the guy in the face. I understand as far as if we're talking punching locations and it being different, but it was still a punch thrown. Flag was thrown, penalty was assessed, and Jenkins was ejected from the game. Hayward should have been ejected for the game.
Agreed.
And it was more so his explanation afterwards that just really didn't make any sense. And I have to say, I have respected Cameron Hayward for a long time for the player that he has been. He's very, very good defensive lineman. Has been ever since he got into the league. And last night, he lost his cool. He stepped over the line and he did something that he shouldn't have done. And the reason that we bring this up is for the fact that if the right calls were done, and Dan, I tweeted this out earlier today, it's the fact that the NFL has two avenues to assess on whether or not a player should be ejected. You have the referees on the field that can make that assessment, or you have the NFL officiating crew in New York that can call the team on the field and say, no, okay, it needs to be elevated to that. He should be out of the game. And none of that happened. Neither one of those individuals thought that it was an ejectable play.
Live watching it happen, the entire stadium, both Pittsburgh fans and Chargers fans were like, not cool. Like, it was palpable how they were like, oh, not a good look. And then it just kind of, washes over. Chargers get a touchdown. Austin Ekeler goes in. I didn't like it at all. And I think he will get fined come Saturday. I would always put money on it. Now, fast forward. Chargers are again on defense. Chargers get the ball back. Because again, like the Steelers offense, which we're going to get into some of these specifics here, but overall, we may have differing opinions here, Jake. I don't know. I happen to think the Chargers defense played very good yesterday. Borderline great, but I'll say very good. They just got put in some horrible positions due to just horrible circumstances. So we already talked about the punt block, right? Ball gets back at the 3-yard line. Then Chargers, one fluke thing happens, and Cameron Hayward, the guy who should no longer be in the game, tips a pass up what felt like 55 yards, up in the air for 25 seconds, it felt like. Comes down, interception. I want to say it's like, the 20, 25-yard line or so-ish. Steelers get the ball right back, score a touchdown. All of a sudden, 14-0 run in a hurry. Chargers are up 3. They went from 7-3 in an instant. And that place was rocking. Like, yes, it was loud. There's a lot of Steelers fans there. Like, obviously, it was loud the whole other part of the game. There's a bunch of Chargers fans excited. So we're thinking, oh boy, here we go. All right. We can do it. Chargers offense hasn't been stopped really at all game. And then Chargers go for a 4th down. Right call, wrong play, in my opinion. Gets stopped. Austin Ekeler's had a good day all day today, all game that day, both receiving and running. Offensive line was looking really good. They probably thought, hey, we need a bow up, we need to get a yard. They couldn't. Steelers stop them. Defense immediately stops them. 3 and out, although they get a field goal. Here we are. Tie game, like that. Well, actually, no. Was that field goal to go up 3?
It was the field goal by the Steelers to go up 3. Yes.
Okay. So what was a 17-point lead
It's now turned
has
into a
quickly 3-point
turned
deficit. Into a 3-point deficit in a matter of,
oh my God.
like 6 minutes of football time? Something like that? And I'm sure we were all feeling this. You're sitting here and you're thinking, how the hell are the Chargers losing this game right now? They have been dominating the entire game, and then I don't know how you want to call it without being vulgar.
Be vulgar.
Crap happens, and now we're down 3 in a blink of an eye. And you're sitting here and you're like, there's no way. I just remember sitting here, I'm like, this is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like, you can't make this shit up. So, we all know what happens afterwards. So it's funny, Jake. I don't know about you, but let's take a quick poll for you. Quick pulse. Chargers are down 3. They just kicked the field goal. You're about to receive the kickoff. What's going through your mind right now? Like, are you feeling confident? Are you irate? Are you already trying to figure out traffic jams? Like, have you given up?
I mean, the way that game was going and the way that the series had gone for the Chargers the last 2 times that they were out, You have the turnover. You have the 3 and out. Excuse me, the failed 4th down conversion. Steelers defensively were hyped. To me, they were. That to me was the time for Tomlin to say, okay, let's bring everything we got defensively in the book right now to just get after this kid.
Mhm.
So, yeah, obviously you should have been a little bit worried. This should not have been a situation that the Chargers fans would have thought we would have seen ourselves in the way that the game was going. Realistically, if it wasn't for certain holding calls, the Chargers were on their way up to being up 34-10 at one point. Justin Herbert would have had over 100 yards rushing if it wasn't for crucial drops or holding calls that, especially the Corey Linsley one, ticky-tack at best. So they were in the driver's seat. And this is just the shittiest part when it comes to the Chargers. It's like you can own someone for 3 quarters, man. But in 1 quarter, the Chargers can literally shoot themselves in the foot enough times to give a game away. And it just goes back to that old saying, Dan, that with this team, and unfortunately, I hope it comes to a day where we don't have to say this any longer, no lead is truly safe. So, yeah, of course, you're on pins and needles thinking to yourself, holy crap, like, we need this. Realistically, in my head, what I'm thinking is I do not want the Steelers to get the ball back. So I was thinking the entire time, chew up the clock, put it together one of these nice drives. You're obviously either going to play for the tie. I would love to see them just punch one in the end zone and have it done right at the end of the game, virtually leave them no time. And in a way, it did kind of happen. But, yeah, I was stoked as hell to see what came next just a few seconds later. Mike Williams.
So I was actually opposite. The way it felt at the game, sitting there live, at least for me, it felt like we were gifting the Steelers points after points after points, and their offense wasn't really doing much. Like, I thought our defense played very good, and I did not have confidence at all that their offense would be able to go the length of the field to get a touchdown. Field goal, maybe. I didn't see it happening for a touchdown. I thought our defense was playing too well. Even though they gave up those, 27 points in the 4th quarter, I want to say 17 of them were because they got 3 possessions within the, 25-yard line?
Yeah, so, every possession that they had, they got it inside the Chargers 30 with the exception of 2 possessions. So they were in our territory a lot. And I get your point, Dan, and feeling like that. But when the Chargers offense fails 4th down conversions or gets a turnover, at that point in time, your defense is starting to get exhausted.
I agree. So all these Steelers fans, everyone, jumping up, everyone's waving their towels, which, by the way, those towels, like, it makes it look a lot worse than it actually is. Like, you look around, you're like, okay, I see a bunch of towels, but if you look closer, you're like, hey, that's just one person. There's like 6 people around them, whatever. Right. They acted as if when they went up 3, they thought, like, game over. We got this. And, like, as if they did not know who they're going up against and have not heard of Justin Herbert or what has happened the entire game. Blink of an eye. Justin Herbert throws a dime. Mike Williams, busted coverage. Kind of busted coverage, kind of planned, and Justin Herbert just took advantage of it. I think they went on quarterback blitz, and there was one corner covering 2 wide receivers, and he had to make a choice if it was going to be either go to Mike Williams or go to Keenan Allen short. Jake, you called me about this afterwards. The Austin Ekeler block on that play, by the way, I think was
Lord.
MVP of the play, MVP play of the game.
Needs to be talked about more.
Quick 50-plus yard touchdown. Mike Williams, hello, have a day. Almost 100 yards for himself. Chargers go up 4. At that point, when they went up 4, I thought game over. I did not think that the Steelers. But crazy things happen. But I felt pretty confident that they were not going to be able to score a touchdown. Like, that offense just wasn't doing it. So then you get, like, the sacks, and then you're starting to see time go off the clock, and then Joey Bosa gets another sack, and you're just like, oh, this is so nice. And then I think it was
well, at that point in time when it was this is a quote actually I found from the Minnesota game. I think it was right after Justin Herbert had taken the sack from Eric Kendricks at the very beginning of the game where he slipped and fell down. I forget who the announcer was, but the guy said it was like 3rd down and a Walmart parking lot. That's basically what it was for the Steelers. It's 4th and 32. But the one thing I'm thinking about, Dan, is whatever the hell play that the Steelers are going to run next, I'm immediately saying, okay, where's the yellow laundry that's going to be coming on the field right
Same
after
thing.
that?
I'm like, just don't get a flag. Don't get a flag. Don't get a flag. Don't get a flag. And look, there were times in this game, I'll admit, there were times in this game where I could not watch. Some of those field goals attempts, I couldn't watch. I actually had my face in my hat when they missed the field goal, but they were offsides.
Dan, that's not going away anytime soon. So why should the fact that the Chargers, who have blown 32 leads since 2011, if our fear of the kicking situation is not going to go away until there is some longevity and consistency there, then why the hell would we not be scared to say we've seen this movie before? Because we've seen it 32 times in the last 10 years.
No, but this year I have been traumatized by kicking woes already multiple times. Not the other stuff that you're talking about. And this was not a typical Chargers meltdown that turned into a victory. This was a very different feel. But anyways, Chargers go back, stop them 4 straight times, 2 sacks, victory formation. Chargers escape with the victory, improved to 5-4, beat the Steelers at home under the lights.
6-4.
What did I say?
5-4.
Oh, improved to 6-4. That sounds so much better too. I like that.
I know. I mean, after all the talk about the game recap, at least give him the the extra digit in the win.
Sorry about my feelings. And the Chargers escape Sunday Night Football with the victory. This stress ball has gotten so much action since I have received it a couple weeks ago. I feel like I've lost like 10 years of my life. I was trying to contemplate like how many years I've actually lost by how much stress I've been given because of this game and this team over the years. And there's so many ways to go through and kind of like nitpick at certain things. But at the end of the day, I think what is most important, you'll hear a lot of the folks complain about, I can't believe, they didn't have TJ Watt, didn't have Minka Fitzpatrick, and we gave up 37 points. And how could you squander a lead in the NFL like that? Same old Chargers, blah, 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 blah. Do you know how hard it is to win in the NFL? Like, imagine, and I said this a couple weeks ago when he saw some other teams lose. The Texans beat the Titans. Okay? The Browns barely won against the Lions. Baker Mayfield wouldn't even go to the podium afterwards. They barely won. The Raiders got their doors blown off by the Bengals. Like, these things happen and your team loses. Say what you want about the things that were squandered. The Chargers won the football game, and that's what matters. And that's what I'm most excited about, is like they found a way. Brandon Staley talked about it after the game, Jake, where he said this was the most proud he has been of any game they've had so far this season. There's a reason why. That there was adversity in that, and they overcame it, and they stuck together. Huge win. Playoff implications, which we'll talk about. Were there any surprises, before we get back to the hotline here, were there any surprises to you that you weren't expecting with that game? I can think of one big one, but overall, surprises.
I mean, I think that all eyes before the game, and obviously so with rightfully so with Linval Joseph being out, Jerry Tillery being out, Christian Covington being out, you replace them with Forrest Merrill, Brendan Fehoko, Joe Gaziano, and every single one of them ended up making plays. You held the Steelers to, what was it, about 60 yards rushing last night? And it wasn't just on their efforts, because they performed admirably. And I will say this, and I hope that they keep this trend moving forward. Please, 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 even when Tillery and Linval Joseph and Christian Covington do come back, and this interior defensive line is at its full strength, Please do not stop using Joey Bosa on the interior rush. Please. He is getting doubled and triple teamed on the outside when we cannot get consistent pressure for opposite of him.
Oh.
He is able to create mismatches galore on the inside and can generate such good pressure from there. So please keep sprinkling him in. That's just my little nugget. But yeah, Dan, interior defensive line. I was very, very pleasantly surprised with how they performed. Now, you could say it was a little bit of the fact that the Chargers were up 24-10 at one point, and they couldn't really afford to run the ball that much because they had to play catch up. So that's really how you take away an opponent's rushing attack. But even so, I was very impressed on how that interior defensive line held up with the guys that were not able to go in that game.
That that matchup was one that could have been a disaster. And we just got done talking about this game being a game of matchups. And last week against the Vikings, who, by the way, that loss against the Vikings looks a whole lot different now when you're seeing this team whoop up on some folks. Just beat the Packers, who were 8-2. Look, the Chargers were going up against a Najee Harris-led Pittsburgh Steelers physical type brand without their guys in the interior defensive line who were already not playing well. And their strength against our weakness, that was an opportunity to be exposed, i.e., look at the Cleveland Browns game. We got torched on the ground. 18 carries, 55 yards, 3.1 yards per carry, and a long of 12 yards is what the Pittsburgh Steelers got against this Chargers defensive front. No way in hell did anybody expect that. I'm giving game balls to all of them. Defensive line coach, you name it. Those guys were arguably like defensive MVP of this game. And I don't know how you can say otherwise, to be honest. Like, this team was, if they didn't have that up front, this was over. And somehow they stepped up. And I don't see how they don't stay playing. Like, I'm sure we're going to get guys healthy coming in, but these guys need more playing time. I think it's clear. I don't think that was a fluke at all.
A lot of people would say Wrecking Ball 91 definitely deserves more snaps, but that's another story for another day.
All right, Jake, we got a lot of voicemails to get through. Again, Chargers Unleashed hotline. Let's hear what you guys had to say after a thrilling, that was legit thrilling, Chargers victory. 323-374-5651. Now, Jake, the game is over. All of these voicemails now are post-game.
Okay. Good to know.
All right, let's hear what the 570 area code has to say about this game.
What a game. I mean, only the Chargers can be that in that type of game, honestly. They always do this, don't they? There's so many different things to talk about, but I'm just going to keep it simple and let the other fans talk about what they want to. Justin Herbert, and I know some people might not like to hear it, he's got a little Eli Manning in him. I mean, he is as cool as the other side of a pillow in tight situations. You just don't see him get overstressed. You don't see him feel like he's nervous or anything. He's as cool as it gets. And we needed it because that touchdown to Mike Williams was incredible. Austin Ekeler obviously stole the show with his 4 touchdowns. But yeah, I mean, Justin Herbert, the type of performance he put on today is just one of those that we'll talk about for years to come. Love the regain from the Chargers. I mean, they really brought it back after that special teams disaster and then the touchdown. They found a way to win, and it's not always going to be pretty, but they're 6-4. They found a way to win. On to next week, bolt up.
I will say, if I think of quarterbacks who are calm, cool, and collected, I don't know if Eli Manning is the first one that comes to mind. And I was wondering where he was going with that. So I'm like,
that's what I was like. Oh boy, whoa. Eli Manning's name in general, as it relates to Charger fans, and that's everywhere. I'm not just relegated to one city. That's everywhere. It's very, walk on eggshells when you.
That's Voldemort in a lot of circles.
If he is talking about Eli Manning specifically in his 2 Super Bowl victories that he got over the Patriots, then yes, okay,
100%.
I'll agree with that. Understood that assessment. Yes, cool as the other side of the pillow, man. He really is. The I think this was a total grow-up game for Justin Herbert. Not that we didn't think that. He really needed it up until this point. If you've been watching Chargers games, you know what kind of player Justin Herbert has become. This just seems like it's the Justin Herbert that we should have seen over the past 4 weeks. This is the Justin Herbert that we saw the first 5 games of the season. And we've had to go through some ebbs and flows of this. We've regressed from certain things, whether it's play calling or Justin Herbert keying in on certain receivers and getting Keenan Allen happy. And the list goes on and on and on. This is the Justin Herbert that you hope to see every single week. And this is the type of potential that you have with this offense. If, again, to be cliche, because everybody likes to throw this quote out every single week, let Herbert cook.
There's a thing with Justin in primetime games. I don't have the stats in front of me, Jake. I don't know if you do. But Justin Herbert, when he is under the lights, I feel like he is as close to perfect and automatic as you can be. I don't think he's lost in a primetime game. And I want to say he has like, I don't know, 15 touchdowns and like 1 or 2 interceptions or something crazy.
Here's the stats. This is Chris Harry, who was kind enough to put these out earlier today. Justin Herbert in 4 career games in primetime. 97 of 145 for 1,182 yards, 12 touchdowns to only 1 interception, and 1 rushing touchdown.
13 touchdowns, 1 interception, almost 1,200 yards in 4 games. In prime
This
time.
is a kid who has not even completed 2 full seasons in the NFL yet.
This is a kid. Like
what?
And oh, by the way, he also has more 300-yard passing games than any quarterback in NFL history in their first 2 seasons.
And he leads the NFL with 5 fourth-quarter comebacks. The next guy is Lamar Jackson right behind him with 4, and the rest of the quarterbacks have 3.
Bananas.
What's happening?
I'm hoping that we will be able to say a lot better things about Justin Herbert than he reminds me of Eli Manning when all this is said and done.
I think there's a good chance of that happening, Dan.
All right, next voicemail. We got to get through these, Jay. We're going to turn through 732 area codes calling in. I want to say this is Joe from Jersey, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So fan from the East Coast. That means he must have been up late watching this. Shout out to everyone on the East Coast and Europe. Everyone who has had to stay up way past midnight to enjoy this game. Let's see what they have to say. 732 area code.
Hey guys, Joe from Jersey. I think I've called you once before, but yeah, all the way from Jersey. Just got done watching the game today, and I haven't been this unhappy with a win in a really long time. I'm kind of fed up with the defense as a whole. I know that we had a turnover here, turnover there. I get that, but we just don't look good on defense. They didn't look great on defense today, in my opinion. Staley's supposed to be a defensive genius, guru, whatever. We've got Bosa. We've got Derwin James. We've got Adderley. We've got Kaiser White. We've got Joseph, who's having a great season. We've got Samuel, who's a second-round steal. The defense is just not good. It's just not very good. I just want to know your thoughts. What's your thoughts on Staley and his performance being this defensive guy? I know he's got other, things going on, but he was supposed to be, this defensive genius, and I'm not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it. I think we have more talent to be a much better defense than what we're showing. It's just frustrating in my opinion. What are your thoughts, guys? Thanks.
That's a fair assessment, Dan. And I actually, I wouldn't have gone as far as criticizing the defense. I think I've already beaten my head against the damn table talking about how porous this run defense has been for the majority of the season. But that wasn't the reason why the Steelers were able to get back into this game. Now, I will say this. This is what going up against a good head coach is like. First off, when the Steelers, the first possession of the game, took almost a full 8 minutes off the clock. They converted 3 4 third downs on that drive alone. They ate up so much clock on that first drive that they did. But Dan, where they really were beating the Chargers, as you said it earlier, Big Ben didn't have to do much, and that's the truth. Because the passes that he was making that would end up going for 30 plus yards would be just simple slant or hitch routes that the Chargers would get easily beat over the middle. And whether it was Chase Claypool or whether it was Deontay Johnson, it was literally just catch, run, and they'd be able to outrun all of our DBs. Some of them weren't in the right position. Obviously, some of them couldn't stay with these wide receivers, but they were getting destroyed over the middle, Dan. So this had nothing to do, in my opinion, with the defensive line, had nothing to do with the pass rush in this game. But yes, Chris Harris was getting burned when Tavon Campbell had to come in for Asante Samuel Jr. And just quick tangent, be prepared to not see Asante Samuel Jr. for a while. And this is going to hurt because he suffered his second concussion in 4 games. And when they are that close together, it would not surprise me if the Chargers shut him down for the entirety of the rest of the season because it's just too dangerous. And for a kid who's a rookie, this early in his career, to suffer 2 concussions like that, that's not good. So other players are going to need to step up. So Tavon Campbell, again, much like he did in Minnesota, did not have a great game in this game. You had Derwin James, who made a number of big defensive plays. Dan, I thought if I was thinking of it when the Chargers ended up stopping the Steelers on that goal line stand that they did on their second possession. And I could be wrong, but I thought the Steelers ripped the same play that the Minnesota Vikings had ran, where it was the tight end Conklin, who came right across the middle. Same damn thing that Roethlisberger was trying to get to. I think it was Freiermuth that he threw it to. And the Chargers were ready for it. They said, nope, got that wrapped up. But so many times the defensive secondary, certain players, let you down. And even Chris Collinsworth was saying that, and he was talking about Brandon Staley's defense. He said, you know what? Brandon Staley's playing too high safety. He's going to dare these quarterbacks to try to beat him deep. He's not going to give him anything deep. Doesn't matter if you run 6 or 8 yards. Doesn't matter if you throw the short passes. When it matters, they're, as you like to say, Dan, the bend but don't break defense. So Brandon Staley was keeping, and Ronaldo Hill were keeping the exact same defense for the majority of that game. The unfortunate part about that is that when you have a coach, the likes of Mike Tomlin, and will just say, okay, I will just take what you're giving to me. He exploited the matchups. He exploited exactly what the Chargers were giving him and didn't try to do anything cute or fancy or go away with it. That's how you take advantage of it, and that is a mark of a good coach. So luckily for the Chargers, they were able to overcome that. But I understand the frustration because of that. Hang on, Dan. You have to understand what I'm criticizing here. I'm not criticizing the defensive line or the rushing attack in this game, which I have spoken my ass off doing over the last, basically the entirety of this season. But the defensive secondary, yes, they were out there a lot. They got tired. They were getting exposed. I don't think that in certain positions, again, we talked about it last week, Dan, with the depth of this team. They have lost Ryan Smith for the year. Now you're going to lose Asante Samuel Jr. for another long period of time. Tavon Campbell, who's we've seen have good moments, but has not been good as of late. Thank God you had Mike Davis back, because I don't know what you would have done at the cornerback position if you didn't have him. And even he still didn't have some good moments in that game either. So, yeah, you'd expect that this would be something that they're going to obviously work on and hopefully get better. I'll tell you what obviously helps out a secondary the most, Dan, is a good pass rush and good interior pressure. Much like you take away the run game of an opponent by going up 17, 20 points, that's how you can improve a defensive secondary, by not allowing the quarterback to get the damn throw off.
I disagree. Fundamentally, I disagree in the idea that the Chargers defense hasn't looked good, especially like in the last couple games. They scored 37 points in that game against Pittsburgh. 7 of it was from a block punt that went 3 yards, 5 plays. Should have been stopped for a forced down stop, but Tavon Campbell did defensive pass interference. Another 7 points was from an interception that they got the ball back like the 25-yard line. Another one was a fourth down stop that their defense got. They got the ball back. They were able to get, I forget if it was 17 or 21 points in a total of like 45, 50 yards combined. So back out 17 points or 21 points out of their final score. I'm feeling good. If the Chargers don't get that block punt and they punt it out and make them go 80 yards, they're not getting 37 points. I promise you. So I'm not putting that on this defense. I'm really not. They played damn good for what they were put in positions to have to do. Like, I'm sorry. I don't see it. I know you mentioned like we got guys back, but you're relying on Tavon Campbell. Like there are times where he got burned, yes. But like given what we have, you just beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're 6-4, and you're complaining about the defense. Like, I get it. You have a defensive guru in Brandon Staley. What if it wasn't Brandon Staley? If we didn't have him, someone else, and all of a sudden we're getting torched for like whatever yards, and we're now 3-7.
Well, look, if you're going to go down that route, I will 100% agree with you to say that I would rather have Brandon Staley and Ronaldo Hill rather than a Gus Bradley leading my defense. But this is a conversation for another day because I think that you and I are going to vehemently disagree on this. I think more of what the caller was talking about was just as a whole, and probably more so over the last stretch of the last 4 to 5 weeks. Because, again, you mentioned Tavon Campbell. And I get it. It's like, who else are you going to go to in this circumstance? You're handcuffed by that. But at the same time, Tavon Campbell is also coming off of a week where Justin Jefferson tore him apart. So you felt like, okay, this was an opportunity for redemption. And more often than not, when the opportunity arose, he was on the short side of things as it relates to making plays. So I get it. And it's going to be tough moving forward, especially now with this injury to Asante Samuel Jr. But we'll see where this takes us.
Joe, thank you so much for calling. It's okay that we disagree. I would like to see more from the defense, but I do not think that this struggle period that we've seen is necessarily all on defense's fault. Look at the Eagles game. I don't think that the defense played poorly in that game. In the game against New England, I don't think the defense was the reason why we lost. Our offense couldn't do anything. It was not very good. That's one of the bad games that Justin Herbert's had. You go to the game last week, Minnesota Vikings, they found one matchup and exploited it over and over. Find Tavon Campbell, put a wide receiver on him, get them the ball. Like, that's what happens. It's a matchup league. And then this game, like I said, I put a lot less on the defense than the 37 points.
Just a reminder, Dan Wolkenstein is a registered eternal optimist. If you need any optimism for anything,
I'm your guy.
Make sure to reach out to him because he's going to make you feel better.
Call 323-374-5651. You get eternal optimism or pessimism, depending on who you want to talk to. Next up on the Chargers Unleashed hotline, Jake. Nope. We got a 626 area code, actually. Let's see what they have to say. They called it around 10 o'clock Pacific. So that means it's probably about an hour and a half after the game. Let's see how they're feeling after the Chargers victory.
What's up, Dan? What's up, Jake? My voice is lost. I was freaking cheering so much for the Chargers. My best man is a Steeler fan. He was right there with me. Both fams showed up until the end. We got those 3 sacks that pretty much finished the game for us. Justin Herbert rushing for 90 yards. That's crazy. Austin Ekeler, 4 touchdowns. Our defensive line showed up. Jesus, what a game. Oh, my gosh. It's great listening to you guys every day. Shout out to Dan. Shout out to Jake. All right, guys. What's up, baby?
Bolts up, baby. Let's go. Jake, that's how I'm talking about. Losing your voice. I still sound raspy. I 100% am feeling his vibe. That's how I felt too. Man, did that feel good to see some of the things we saw at SoFi. Justin Herbert doing things we've never seen before, Jay.
Thank you so much for the shout out, man. I really appreciate the listeners always calling in and being great supporters of the show. Thank you guys very much for that. I mean, what else can you say? I hope that does not cause rift between him and his best man. Hopefully, it's just for like a couple days and nothing that's long term. Trust me, I've been there. I've dated Denver Broncos fans. It doesn't work. So it obviously didn't work. But no, let me just go back to Austin Ekeler for a second. Dan, do you know that Austin Ekeler scored more touchdowns yesterday than 7 NFL teams totaled points yesterday?
Combined.
Yeah. Well, not combined, but just had Austin Ekeler contributed to 4 touchdowns, essentially 24 points, which was more than 7 other franchises scored in their respectable games. I mean, have a night. I know it because the man single-handedly saved my fantasy game this weekend. You go back to, I think it was the second one that he had, which was the short dump-off pass from Herbert. Talk about the LT comparisons that came out of the woodwork on that run. You know, throw in your Chris Berman, whenever you want to. It was just amazing. He was having a game. And like Brandon Staley said, in the locker room speech afterwards, says he doesn't know if there's a deal that he has with if Joe Lombardi or Justin Herbert has Ekeler respectfully on their fantasy teams, but who cares? I didn't care how it was. If it was the Austin Ekeler show, if it was the Justin Herbert show, who cares? The Chargers just needed to have a victory, and they got it in exciting fashion.
Let's keep it rolling, Jake. Next one came in this morning, actually. 6:36 a.m. on the West Coast. So if they are either up early or came in or on the East Coast and are chilling, or maybe they're in Europe. Who knows? Let's see what they have to say.
Hell yeah, boys. We got that win. And this is Kalen out of Montana again, just giving you a call. Man, that was an awesome game. We're all going to be dead by the time we're 40. And the heart attacks this team likes to give us day in, day out, it seems like, and it's always the Chargers. It is what it is, but man, it makes for some exciting football. One hell of a win, boys. On to Denver.
You know, Dan, okay, so you coined the phrase a while ago about 4th and Staley. We now have that on a shirt that is now up on LAFB on our website. I think it's time that I just had another idea for a shirt. I'd just be like, when you're a Chargers fan, and then basically just put a list of medical conditions on the back of the shirt to say what you endure. I endure headaches. I endure heart attacks.
Indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
I've become an alcoholic. You know, whatever it is. And I'm not trying to say that in a demeaning way, but these are the type of things that the Chargers fans have had to deal with
100%.
Over the last decade in watching their team either squander fourth quarter leads or having games like this. And the crazy part about this, Dan, is it wasn't too long ago when we had to endure the Cleveland Browns game. And then we literally have to endure in a similar fashion a thriller to the very end as it was against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Whew. Yes. I legit feel older than...
We've all lost years of our lives.
It was brutal. It was brutal. And I remember leaving the stadium last night and I could not talk. I just was squealing everywhere, it felt.
I don't know what the average shelf life for, males is right now. But if that's the case, I only think I have a couple years left, Dan. I think with everything that I've had to witness, I may, as the caller said, we're probably not making it to 40, which in my case, I've only got 3 years left. So I'm not going to be around much.
We're so close.
I'm not going to be around much longer.
All right. Next one, Jake. We're just going to roll through these. 909 area code. Let's hear what they have to say on a Victory Monday.
What's going on, fellas? Ivan from Victorville here. Victory Monday. Want to touch base with you guys on this awesome performance. Justin Herbert, he went Super Saiyan on that ass, man. He went all out. That pick, I mean, he's had a few bad passes, stuff like that. You kind of got to clean that up. But, man, it's crazy to think that he's only in year 2. You know, all the records he's breaking. A couple of weeks, you know, on those weeks where we do lose. So they talk about Herbert, oh, second year. Look at him now, though. You know, when he has these games, it's just like, oh, man. It's exciting as of that caliber of team. And then you have Austin Ekeler. Clutch catches. Had a couple nice plays. Overall, just even the run game.
Do you think he has T-Mobile?
Tyler, those 2 guys, oh, man, they opened up some holes, man. It was a good game overall.
Real quick. T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, or none of the above?
I was gonna say if he was at the game, because I've heard that the Wi-Fi at SoFi is not
great.
the best. So, but regardless, I get what he was saying. Let's bring this back just to Justin Herbert for a second, because this here's the hard part moving forward, Dan, is because now that we have had this masterful performance of Justin Herbert,
we're spoiled.
And you now have a division game that you have to win against the Denver Broncos, especially with the Kansas City Chiefs being on a bye this week. Much like it is, because in the NFL, it's all about parity. And when a trend tends to happen, people keep it. It's the hot hand fallacy where you'd expect it to keep happening again. So Chargers fan base is going to expect the exact same type of performance by Justin Herbert this Sunday. So not to say that it can't happen, but these are the type of things that make people so frustrated, is because when you see that it is possible and you see how great of a quarterback that he can be. And again, regardless of whether he's having games like he had yesterday, or even if you go back to week 1 in Washington, where by his standards, because he has now set the bar so high in such a short period of time, people just expect it to be like that every single time. And unfortunately, I'm here to spoil it for you that it's not going to be like that. Now, am I saying that Justin Herbert is going to go back to progressing and throwing more ill-timed interceptions? No, obviously, I'm not saying that at all. That's not what I want to happen. But I'm hoping that not only does Justin Herbert carry this momentum forward, which I believe he will, but for the love of God, Brandon Staley, Joe Lombardi, what you guys put together yesterday offensively was beautiful.
Know what you have.
Keep it going. I've said it time and time before. The Chargers apparently are just allergic to nice things and are allergic to positive trends. This car will give you 100,000 miles of, gas mileage, and it only costs you $50. No, I'm going to ride a bike. That's just, sometimes you feel that that's the mentality of this coaching staff. So take this momentum moving forward, and not just next week, for the remainder of this season. Build on it. Build to your quarterback's strengths. This is the juggernaut that this offense can become. And in truth, I think we're still scratching the surface in a couple of areas. So keep it going.
100%. All right, let's let him finish out this voicemail. Hopefully he gets more service.
I like Palmer stepping up and kind of trying to defend his quarterback. He's a rookie, but you see everybody's together. Everybody's a team. It's a good sight. Overall, great team win, man. I can't wait to see what the Broncos bring us. But what are some of your guys' takeaways from that game?
Dan, do you want to give some of your takeaways, since I spoke in the middle of that one?
No, that's fine. First off, thank you again for calling. Lots of takeaways, but we talked about a bunch of them. But the one that you kind of touched on here for a second ago, do people realize that like their expectations of Justin Herbert now are like MVP level? Where if he is not playing like an NFL MVP caliber player, all of a sudden it's Joe Lombardi is fireable and our offense is struggling. He's regressing. Like, take a second and appreciate the fact that we have a quarterback now who more times, I would argue almost every single game he is in, aside from maybe a couple, he is the best player on the field. And the Chargers have that at the quarterback position in the second year of a rookie contract. And so you have to expect there are going to be some bumps and bruises along the way. But this kid has so much he can do. And there's so much potential. But you have to play it out a little bit. If he doesn't have an MVP game, doesn't mean he's a terrible quarterback. Doesn't mean the offensive coordinator needs to go. Like, things happen. Have some fun. Otherwise, you just beat the Steelers on prime time. Like, that's the takeaway. Your defense did enough. Your offense did enough. Your coaching stepped up. Fans showed out. You won on prime time. You're 6-4 in the playoffs. Like, you're feeling good. Your kicker is doing great so far. You're still seemingly having a new kicker, which is nice. Your team is as advertised, and you're 6-4 after that gauntlet that we have gone through. I think the Chargers have like the 11th easiest schedule remaining in the NFL. And I want to say their winning percentage of the teams they've played so far are like 560 something, which I think has to be like top 5 hardest in the NFL. So feeling good about this. I know I'm an optimist, but I also am a realist, and really the team is looking good. Last voicemail, Jake, coming under the wire. Our folks from the northern border of Canada, Dan from Ontario, has reached out. Let's see what he has to say about the Chargers' victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hi, this is Dan Tebow from Ontario. First time calling in the Brandon Staley era. My thoughts about the game, first and foremost, I'm very happy that the police officers did not do their job today, because you'd think that with the amount of gangsters that we have on this team, that the entire police force would have stormed the field like they did NWA when they started rapping "fuck the police." I mean, one of our gangsters literally has a rocket launcher and uses it like 40 times a game, and the police officers did nothing about it. I mean, Herbert is gangster, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Ekeler, all gangster. Even our coach, Forrest and Staley, love the aggressiveness. Hate the play call on that 4th down, but you live and die by that aggressiveness, so I'm all for it. When it comes to the punting unit, for the love of God, I mean, we literally use you once or twice every 2 games. Could you please just not fuck it up? I mean, even on our punt return, Andre Roberts at some point caught the ball and instantaneously got killed. I'm surprised he didn't fumble the ball. He was obviously frustrated when he went to the sidelines, because you've got 2 guys to make 1 block and you can't do it, and he would have got positive gain out of it. So we got to fix our punting units, both sides. I mean, our kicking seems fixed. I love it. Flipping it to the defensive side, I really like how we played on the D-line, to the point where I think that we need to really reevaluate who our starters are, because Forrest Merrill, Brandon Fajoko, Gaziano, they all made huge plays, and honestly, our defense looked more stout rushing-wise than we have all year. We were playing a good running back, so I think we need to reevaluate that. But no matter how much we need help at the interior line, I will never sign or trade for Cam Hayward. I mean, he is officially on my shit list with Eli Manning, Marlon McCree, and even Jeff Fisher when, he targeted Sean Merriman.
Oh, did he cut out? He was doing so good.
That was a hell of a shit list that he was talking about.
That was a long one.
So, Marlon McCree, we don't need to go into reasons why.
Rack.
And I honestly think that he deserves a lifetime suspension. Great game. Now, I'm going to let you guys go. I am going to the hospital because I might have had 17 minor heart attacks last night. But bolt up and on to the Bengals.
Dan, I'm telling you.
Dan Thibodeau from Ontario. Thank you.
See, now the Chargers are not affecting the health problems of just the people in America. It's now internationally. Now they're affecting people in Canada.
We're Mr. Worldwide, baby.
Let's call Ryan, and we need to get some of these health problems and health issues on a shirt. When you're a Chargers fan, this is what you experience.
We need a sponsor from healthcare. That's what we need.
Oh my Lord. So a lot to unpack there. Let's start with the shit list that he made. Cameron Hayward being on the shit list, along with the likes of Marlon McCree, Don't need to go into why that is the case. That should be relatively obvious to all of us Chargers fans right now. Was it Jeff Fisher that he called for calling the chip block on Merriman? And then I didn't hear the other one that he put on there.
I don't remember it.
But that's a hell of a shit list and understandable. Got it.
Oh, Cam Hayward. That's the other one.
Well, yeah. I mean, Cam Hayward was obvious. I thought there was 4 that he put on there. So Cameron Hayward, unfortunately, is not getting a lifetime suspension. Okay, he's doesn't look like he's getting any games suspended for this. That's based off of what the league is coming down. It looks like the only punishment they are looking at giving him is fines at this point. So no suspensions. Don't expect it. Agree or disagree, but it's not happening. Let's go to the special teams, Dan, because we didn't really get a chance to dive into this too much.
Gotta talk negative, really?
Well,
I'm kidding.
I mean, what do you expect?
This is Jake Hefner
Come on,
we're talking about.
I was like, who do you think your co-host is on this podcast? Come on, this should be no surprise to you. So my wife always has a reoccurring joke. She has no sympathy for NFL kickers. She is vicious. Ooh. She's absolutely vicious because she believes that they just have one job: just kick the football. And to my wife, it should just magically go in. She was even saying to me jokingly last night, she's like, can't they just like pick up the ball and throw it through the sticks? I'm like, no, honey, that's not how it works. She's like,
I wish.
Well, then
we
they
have
should.
A great kicker if we did,
right? I think everybody would be 100%. But I said no, and then she's like, well, then they only have one job, and that's just the kick. So she's vicious when it comes to kicking situations. It got no better for the punting unit. I will say this: Mike Tomlin. If you go back to the 2018 victory that the Chargers, again, in electric fashion, they had to make a comeback of their own in that game that they ended up getting. If you remember the plays that the Pittsburgh Steelers were almost making on special teams against us, Mike Tomlin did not forget that.
They had like 3 straight offsides, I believe.
Yeah, it was Joe Hayden, who I think did it twice. This is in 2018 when this happened. And then sure enough, on the Hopkins kick that we thought that he shanked to the left, it was the same damn thing. He brought him off sides from the same side of the line of scrimmage and almost got the jump on it because he was trying to time the snap properly and ended up going too early. And thankfully, 5 yards a little bit more forward, Dustin Hopkins ends up making the next field goal. But again, on punt coverages, Pittsburgh Steelers special teams were ready to play yesterday. And I think it may have been Daniel Popper that put this tweet out, and this was just after the punt block, Dan. The Chargers had 5 rookies on that special teams line on that particular play. But that's not the problem. It was Drew Tranquil who ended up letting the Steeler players through that ultimately led to the block. So that was... I personally don't think that's going to happen again. I think Drew Tranquil will clean that up. But it's just one of those rare situations to where it's just like that really was an avoidable situation. And look at the momentum shift that ended up getting caused. Yes, the Andre Roberts thing. I understand that as well. Not too worried about the kickoff scenarios, but yeah, special teams problems for the Chargers are not going away anytime soon, guys. Okay, just be thankful that you have a kicker that has shown some consistency over the last couple of weeks.
I had a few Steelers fans nearby, and every time there was a special teams thing about to happen, I was always like, don't be surprised if insert bad thing happens, because the Chargers are notorious for this, and it's happened already this year many times. And so when that pump block happened, the guy in front of me literally turns around and I was like, hey, got to give you props. You called that. You were right. And by the way, I want to look more into this because I feel like Ty Long takes too long to punt it.
Sure felt like he took a long one on that one.
It feels like he takes like an extra step and a half, like a little pep in his step to get going. I'm like, just go. Like, take 2 steps, go. Get out. I'd rather you punt it 35, 40 yards every time than risk you getting it blocked. Like, it feels like it's almost happening every time. I don't know if that's real. It's just how it feels. Maybe it's just because I'm a Chargers fan. I don't know. But yeah, Love, by the way, full circle. Eli Manning comes back in the last voicemail, as we had in the first one. All is well in the world. Jake, Chargers win.
Oh, that was the other one on the shit list. That's totally justified.
There we go. Chargers win 41-37. And I'm exhausted. I am tired. We talked about kind of the keys to the game. We talked about why the Chargers ended up pulling it out, how the defense still stepped up. But I have to end it on this for me, Jake. My biggest takeaway from all of this, I said it last week after the Chargers lost to the Vikings. The Chargers, they've got playmakers. They just have to make plays. And damn it, this game, your playmakers made plays.
Showed up.
Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Ekeler, obviously Justin Herbert, Joey Bosa, Derwin James. These guys showed up to play and made plays. That's it. That's what won the game. And I'm so grateful I could sit here and talk about that because they will admit it too. It's on them, and they know it. And that sense of urgency that all of us talked about, it felt like they had this past week of practice. Austin Ekeler talked about it in the postgame. Best week of practice they had. You feel the intensity. Everything they talked about during practice showed up during the games. They were not surprised they had it all ready to go. Playmakers making plays and being prepared. Jake, I feel like I need like a throat lozenger. I feel like I need like NyQuil. I need to sleep for 6 days, hibernate, and wake up for the game this coming Sunday. Anything else we need to tell the good people that's on top of mind for you before we get out of here and take a nap?
We're all exhausted. Mentally, physically, we're all exhausted. But happy to come on here and be talking about a victory nonetheless. The Chargers, in a must-win situation, had to have it to stay in the race in their own division to keep pace with the Kansas City Chiefs. And realistically, you still have two AFC conference games ahead of you. One in your own division, the Denver Broncos, coming up this weekend that you have to have given the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are on a bye. You win this game, you're actually a half game ahead in the AFC West. You'd retake that lead. So you have to have this game. And then 2 short weeks, Cincinnati Bengals. Got to have that one too. So let's hope that this is the stepping stone to get the momentum back on track for this team, to keep the wins stacking up, because you're going to need them. You're going to need them when we're getting to this part of the season.
I think it was Austin Ekeler who said it. You can't get a win streak without one. They got one. Let's make it 2. For Jake Hefner, you can find him at Jake T. Hefner on Twitter. Myself at Chargers Homer. Guys, this has been so much fun. Congratulations to everyone who has been invested in this team. I know we've gotten some gray hairs, lost some years, but damn it, the Chargers are 6-4 in the playoff hunt, and this is going to be a wild ride. And don't look now, huge game coming up next versus the Denver Broncos. Obviously, we're going to be talking all things Broncos matchup. But until then, find us again on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Subscribe, give us a like, comment, say hello, what's up, leave a review. We're grateful for all of you. Thank you so much. And tune into the next episode of Chargers Unleashed. Get some sleep, get some rest. Happy morning, afternoon, and good evening. Talk to you next time.